On Sunday the 31st of July 2022, Chloe Kelly pounced on a loose ball in the box to give England Lionesses a 2-1 win in extra time against Germany in the UEFA Women's 2022 final. The women's game had been steadily growing up to that point, but afterwards it just exploded. At Fight Club JFC, the girls' game had also been growing, and in the wake of that triumph and the increased interest, a decision was made to create a women's team so that our girls had a pathway into adult football. In this episode, we hear the story of that creation from the key stakeholders and talk to the manager and some of the players who now make up this burgeoning team about their reasons for playing. Hello, I'm Andy Glover, one of your hosts, alongside Mark Grinter, who we will hear from shortly. However, before we go further, I would like to thank our sponsor, Rachel's Bookkeeping, for all of your bookkeeping needs. I sat down with Mark at Summerdale Pavilion after watching the women play their second match to find out more about how this all came about, as well as inquiring about what is actually needed in order to create your own women's team.
Alright, so we're sat here in the club. The ladies have just finished playing, or the women have just finished playing against Red Falcon. And I'm sat here with Mark. We've just watched the game, very entertaining. Red Falcon beat the women, Fies Women JFC 2-1. And so, Mark, where did the idea for this team come from?
The idea, I said, with Kelsey, who's the manager of the girls. Kelsey set up the Wildcats originally back in, we think now, going through the 5 years, 2017. So, Christmas, we wanted a pathway for the girls, because we've obviously got up to the under 14s. So when they get to under 16s, there's a pathway for them into adult football. A lot of the mums and older aunties and all sorts of the ladies we were looking for something for them to join that's fun, to make friends, do an activity. So it was to set up a team that hopefully by the time the under 14s finished their youth football, that Fry's had a set up, so we had a pathway all the way through from Wildcats all the way through to adult football. So we've got the whole setup is the plan.
And how does this differ from girls' football?
At the moment, it probably doesn't differ that much. I said again, obviously, women's game is expanding, and the different rules. I said where they get into the adult football is, it's slightly different to the youth. It's more competitive, perhaps. It might be. I don't think at the moment we will be. At the moment, most of the women we've got playing are doing it for fun, fitness, socialising, and enjoyment. The competitive side might come in a year or so once we're formed and properly in a league. But at the moment, it's about the women enjoying their football and the progression. So, hopefully in a couple of years it'll be.
But yeah, because we are at this stage, but once they get going, it will be more competitive compared to the girls' side of things.
The big dream, if you were thinking of a big dream in 10 years' time, it would be lovely to be in the first round of the Women's FA Cup.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? So tell me about the Somerset League, because as a club based in Somerset, that is our natural home.
It is. We are on the cusp of Somerset by about 10 metres, I think. We're as far north in Somerset as you could get.
So what does that offer? Where does this take you for clubs who enter the Somerset?
The Somerset,
League?
we can, we're as north as you go. You can go down to Minehead, Taunton, Yeovil. It's a good potentially, and the standard that we'd be entering, most of the away games you're looking at over an hour to get there on a Sunday afternoon.
And how big is that league, do you know?
I think there's now, they do it in tiers, so it'd be the 9th tier. So I think there's 2 in that level that you'd go through. I think it's the Somerset Women's Div 2, Div 1, and then you go southwest and all sorts after that. So yeah, I think it's either 2 or 3, depending on, obviously the women's game's growing, so it might even be 3 and even be more widespread next year. So that is where we would potentially look to enter eventually when we go 11-a-side. At the moment we're not looking for 11-a-side, because when we set it up only in March, so we're only in early May now, we were hoping that we might get 10 was the target, was to have 10 women training. We've now got 41 signed up, so but a lot of it is, so we will see. That'll be the plan, is to go into the Somerset FA, but I still think we're probably 18 months away from that in any case.
Yeah. In case you can hear background noise, we're in the club and the women are now entering the club behind us, so start enjoying their drinks and some after match sustenance. So, but we'll carry on and we'll try and speak a bit louder. So, what about the Gloucester League? What does that offer?
More local teams, because you then get the Bristol teams that can enter. So I think there's Bocco, Whitchurch, I think there's a Bristol Rovers supporters, there's obviously Red Falcon, who we've played today, High Ridge, we had the warm-up, Whitchurch, there's Bitton.
So there's still distance games though, but
more
local.
There's more local games, but there's I think you have to go as far as Gloucester, Stroud, but most of your games are local to the Bristol area. I think the teams in probably Gloucester, Stroud, and further slightly as north as Gloucester are probably in the same position as we are, that they've got to travel to Bristol for most of their games. So there are a lot more teams in there. It's just the boundary. If we decided to go in the Gloucester League, I've been told we could potentially get in from here.
So I was going to come to that. So as a club who sits just outside of Gloucestershire, what options can we look to explore, and what have other teams done in similar situations to do this?
Yeah, I mean, the Red Falcons, who've been established, I think this is their 3rd season now, they looked into it. They now play their home games in Almondsbury.
So they train here within Somerset, but they play within Gloucestershire.
Yeah, so that's how they can enter, which we could potentially look at. I mean, bizarrely still in Keynsham. If we went to where Keynsham Town boys play on the Broadlands playing fields, we could play in the Gloucester League.
But that's still within Somerset, isn't it?
I've been told we can do that, because that's what I have been told.
Wow.
So it's literally that close.
So that's an option open to us then.
That
for
potentially,
if
we went that way, or I mean, which is I can never quite understand, because I'm not going to look. Is Whitchurch in the Gloucester League? And I would think they're slightly more celibate than we are.
But it depends where Whitchurch are playing. Are they playing on Imperial?
Yeah, they play Imperial.
So that's within Gloucestershire, not where the original home of Whitchurch was sort of further.
So we could look to move, but I have been told if you keep hassling the Gloucestershire FA, we may get in, but it's a long. It'll take a long time.
So this season coming, where are we actually looking to enter, and what does that bring for us as a club and for the women of the team?
Well, for the first season, we considered the Somerset. It's 11-a-side. I mean, the numbers we got are fantastic, but it's still early days for the women, so it's a lot of commitment, and a lot of them are mums and stuff. So the best league that we found for us potentially is going to be the Bristol Women's Casual League, which is a 7-a-side league. They play on a Saturday at the one venue, and games are about every 3 or 4 weeks.
Where is that venue? Do you know? Is it somewhere over in? Did I hear you somewhere over sort of Staple Hill?
Yeah,
Staple.
It's
way?
around that way. It's a central base. So that's where they're.
And it's all played in the one location.
One played in the location. All the teams know each other, so it's quite friendly, and it seems a very good league. We will hope their season finishes now and within the next week or so. So give it, hopefully by mid-June we'll have confirmation if we've got in. And that's where we'll start for this year. We'll do that. We'll carry on training because it is a casual at the moment. A lot of the women are here, like I said, for fitness, fun. This side of it, you can hear them now socialising, and then hopefully we'll do that for at least a season. And hopefully,
I could say then, longer term, would it be casuals league and 11-a-side, or would we move away from the casual idea? Because with so many women looking to play, surely some are just looking for that casual side of it, quite literally
Yeah.
casual football. Others, I assume, are looking for that competitive edge.
I think they will do eventually. I think that'll be the plan, is that we keep to one in the casual, one in the Somerset FA would be the plan.
Or Gloucester if we can get
or
in.
Gloucestershire, ideally, if we can get in.
Yes.
So either or, and we would keep the casual league. I think it is important to, if we start in the casual league, that we keep a team in the casual league for as long as we possibly can. And there will always be women who just, it suits them. It is their lifestyles, and the way the modern lifestyle is with busyness and everything like that. It's perfect, the casual league, for a lot of the players and a lot of the ladies playing. So the plan, long term, would, in an ideal world, is that we can get into the Gloucestershire League and stay in the casual league. If we can't get in the Gloucestershire League, we'll bite the bullet and go Somerset. But I think that might not be until our current under-14s finish their under-16 season. So in 2 years' time, I think if we can get into the Gloucestershire, it'd be September 24. If it has to be the Somerset, it might be Somerset 25. Right. By the time we get there,
Yeah.
but
So a bit of history. So in 2005, we as a club did try this, and a manager called Ray Cott brought us a team to the club, and they played at Somerdale in the Gloucester County League. So it can be done, and they were playing it here. They were actually they weren't playing at Catesham or at Almsbury. They were playing at Somerdale in the Gloucester County League. Sadly, shortly into that season, he stepped down. I don't know the full politics, but I believe he basically fell out with the players. So he stepped down, and the late Lee Stenner, who actually instigated girls' football at Fry's, he was the original instigator of Fry's. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he took over for the rest of that season. But because he didn't know the women originally, it kind of fell away by the end of the season, and with no girls teams coming through on a regular basis to sort of reinforce the women there, it didn't sort of continue. But now we have a set of girls teams coming through from under 14 down to Wildcats. How important will that be for the longer term success of our women's team?
It's vital. If you've got that I think there's, when they get to under 16s, the girls, obviously they go to college, university, other activities, so you'd think out of a squad, say you've got 17, 18 and under 16s, you might get 5 or 6 who go onto the women's team, who stay local enough to do it. So to have that, it would be the same as men's football. Hopefully eventually you get a first, a second. I mean, that would be ideal, it'd be lovely. And that's how it builds and grows, and that's just how the women's game as a general is growing. We are fortunate enough now that we have got next season, I think we'll have an under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, under 11s, under 12s, under 13s and under 15s next season, and in some of those age groups more than one team.
And we've probably got enough if we can find the coaches under 7s.
If we to do that as well. So unfortunately, at the moment they would be friendlies, the under 7s, because the Bristol Girls League doesn't start till under 8s.
Which is a shame, because the boys' side do.
They do, but again, it's where the Girls League is developing. The under 8s has only been going 3 years.
Yes, so it's getting there slowly, isn't it?
It is. 3 years ago it was under 9s it started. So I'm sure, give it another couple of years, it will be under 7s. And I think next year at Fry's, now with the women's team and how it's grown since mid-March, it's now the biggest team within Fry's. That includes the girls, the boys, and all the men's teams. Granted, we've only got one team, but we have 41. I don't think any other squad has got a squad of 41. So it can grow and it can expand. It does need more volunteers from certain sides, and it needs people to be on the same page as well.
But those girls under 15s, they're going under 16s, that pathway for them into a women's team offers that full outlet. But also, the Wildcats, they come in. We now say to parents who call us and my child is 2 years old, can she play? We're like, absolutely. And we can now say she can come and play, and when she reaches an adult, we have a women's team
Yeah.
who she can carry on playing into for
I mean,
as long as she wants to play for.
I mean, I suppose in theory,
Which is a phenomenal
yeah.
thing.
I mean, at the moment, I think the youngest one we've got at Wildcats is 3, and the oldest woman we've got signed on is 62.
Which is absolutely fantastic.
So there you go. So already we have got this already, and it's fantastic from where it was to where it is, and to where it. I mean, and the opportunities are endless. Literally, it could be, well, it's big now, but it could be.
It's still growing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah.
So what have we as a club had to do to set this up?
A lot of hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of effort.
Because this didn't just happen overnight.
Well, I mean, like I said, Kelsey, who's managing this women's team, set the Wildcats up in, we think, working it now, is the summer of 2017, and literally turned up with 2 or 3.
And she's already gone through our club as a player.
And she has, yeah.
Initially with boys, and then went to the girls' team, and so has gone through, done a 10-year service with us with the girls' team, and then gone into helping set up and go with the Wildcats, and then has come back to us saying, "I'd like to run a women's team." But what else? Administratively, there's obviously been things we've had to do as well.
Yeah, I think we've now got 20, well, I'll have at least 20, probably 30 coaches we've hired. It takes a lot of, like I said, admin with the Bristol Girls League, getting everybody. It's endless at the moment. I mean, it is a full-time job to do it. Basically, it's not.
But from the women's perspective, the actual women's team perspective itself, was there anything we had to go with Somerset or anything that we had to do, or was it quite literally just say we're now going to have a womenmen's team and 5 players?
Yeah, it was. That was
So it was actually more the actual, because I here I would actually sort of throw my hand in, because I did a lot of social media pushing. I didn't design, but certainly social media pushing. And was it more that side of things, just like hey women, we need some players, and it was just a matter of pushing. A bit like last week's charity walk. It was push this.
Yeah, social media you can use to such well. You can get the word of mouth out there. You can do so much. So we have, I mean, and obviously where we're lucky with the girl, a lot of the ladies that are playing are mums of daughters who are playing. They've seen how the girls are now enjoying it. It's something that they did when they were young, which the opportunities for women's football was not there. And it's 5 years ago, definitely. You said you've got Red Falcons who've been here 3 years. We've been here since March, and you can in there at the moment having their food and playing tonight was 40 women.
Now I know that they've set up a Spond page, which I think is for communication, and that they've set up an Instagram page for videos and photos. I think I've supplied them the photos from the Highridge game, and obviously I took some tonight as well, which I'll let them have. And all that will help promote the team and promote things, and maybe even attract more women to the team as well. So, but basically it was just getting the coach, affiliating through the whole game system, which our secretary will go through, and then it's just promoting it and getting them in. As long as you've got that DBS checked. Coach, do you even need DBS, because it's not under 18, is it? So
no, you don't need
just
that,
a coach with the qualifications who can do it, and
the drive,
and the drive to do it. Yes,
any grassroots club can do it. It's not hard, and I think, a lot of the ones around here do it. Briz, Whitchurch. I don't actually think Briz might have a women's team, but any, grassroots club can have a women's team like that. It doesn't. You can enter the casual league and expand, and then in some ways, doing the admin side of it is easier for a women's team than it is for the youth football, because, like you said, you don't need necessarily DBS checks. You don't need all the rules and things that you have to go through, because children's welfare and stuff, because they're adults. I mean, and they listen, and you get a more responsive thing. I think there was an incident tonight where one of the women got hit on the head with the ball close up, and you can, within a few minutes, it's easy to know if she was concussed, or a 5-year-old girl, or 15-year-old lad was concussed. So it can be done. Any club can do it. I would encourage every club to do it as well. I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
if
Grow
you've
the
got,
game, isn't it?
if you've got a girls section, get yourself a women's team set up. Do it now, and you'll be surprised how it'll affect your club in a positive way.
So what are the benefits of having a women's team?
It's the
Apart from
pathway.
The pathway, yeah, that's the key one,
The
isn't
pathway,
it?
and it's good for social. It's good for
The engagement, isn't it?
yeah.
The engagement for the mum, because like you said, a lot of these are actually mums of
So
of the
they
players
know what it's
of the
like,
club.
and they can, Sarah who scored. I know her daughter's been poorly in hospital last night. So that'll give her a boost. Mum scored the first ever goal for Fry's women. It's fantastic, and then it gives them a boost. It helps their social thing. There might be some women and stuff who, obviously the last couple of years with lockdowns and COVID, social skills and stuff, and being part of a group, community.
Just getting out and just doing that one thing a
doing
week,
the normal thing, yeah.
And the exercise and
Healthy.
everything else.
I mean, and with today's world, with physical and more importantly the mental health, this will help. There will be women who this might be their only thing that they can feel part of a club, part of a community. What a wonderful thing.
And from a club perspective, if it attracts other players who might have daughters who aren't playing but want to play, it can build it on that
sons.
side. And those women will also promote the word of our club to others who might be looking for a club.
Exactly.
Boys and girls.
Boys. Overall,
Absolutely.
it helps it.
I think you answered this already, but I will ask: is what's the interest been like?
It's phenomenal.
We've got 40. Are we still
They're still
attracting
coming.
more? They're still
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
I think we had 3 or 4 newbies today. Like I said, we haven't been going 2 months yet.
Yeah.
And I think come the summer, and you obviously got the Women's World Cup in August, it would not surprise me by the end of August if we're close to 100.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to ask a contentious question, and I will ask you to be honest for our listeners. Has there been support from the wider Fight Club JFC, both girls and boys teams?
There's been there's not been anything negative.
But has there been support?
No, there hasn't been any support.
So I can remember I came down to watch the High Ridge game, and I looked over and I saw a number of people who I recognised from various girls' teams.
Yeah.
Parent-wise, stood there. They didn't watch the whole game,
No.
but they watched the first half. It was their first game, and they cheered.
Yeah.
And they certainly watched the first half, and they started to drift away during the second. But they came and they gave their support.
Yeah.
Didn't see any boys teams, and yet I know that was put on the WhatsApp page of
It
all
was.
managers saying the women have got their first match.
Again, I think
Come down and support if you'd like to, even if it's just managers.
I think again it's going back to the
Well,
walk.
Let's go back further. When we had this conversation on the Wembley trip where I said about why do boys not do these things that the girls are doing, and you said, well, it's expensive, and I said, well, why don't the boys do the girls flag bearing? And you said, well, it's that masculine thing.
Yeah.
And is it the fact that it's women? Why would why should we
potentially,
get
I think
involved there?
Bit by bit.
And also, there's the chat, like you said last week on the last podcast with the charity thing. There's that lack of engagement from some because, well, I'm just here for my team.
And I think there is an awful lot of it is just.
But then I will counter that with that. As I said, the first game there were a number of parents from other girls' teams who were here watching. And it was
I think
all the girls' teams
yeah.
for supporting. Yes, it's women, but so what? This is our club. They should be here supporting the creation of a new thing, but our club. Why are they not supporting our club? Yes, it's not their team. I don't care it's not their team. This is a brand new thing that we've not done before. Why are they not down here supporting our club, saying, yes, we're behind you. This is a brand new thing. And not just that. I've got we're boys teams, but we've got wives, we've got daughters who might want to eventually play for this. We'll come and support this, and we'll give you a cheer along. They're not here.
No, I think with the women and the girls, it's new.
I said I was going to be contentious.
Everybody is enthusiastic. It's it is all brand new and it's very keen. Some of these boys coaches and stuff, bless them, have been doing it for X amount of years. That's set in their ways, and you cannot criticise anybody who gives up their time to do what they do. Is it how you can? It would be nice if there was a bit more support and a bit more thing. There isn't. I mean, we are hopefully looking that certainly on the admin side that there will be more support. because it is now ridiculously big. And even now doing this, I'm now panicking just to make sure that the food and everything's going on all right over there. And it would be nice if there was somebody apart from Kelsey, who's the manager, who should be enjoying it, in there with them. But it's new, and it hopefully will get bigger and bigger. Yeah. I think I've had unfortunately, if you're going to break it down, if it carries on much longer, I'll give up. Because you're fighting against a brick wall with stuff. You do the charity walks, you do all this with the women.
We go to Wembley and
and everything, and it all takes time. And yet, you get criticised, you get called names, you get called all sorts, and you think it ain't worth it. And it said,
and this is coming from the people who aren't here supporting this, who aren't supporting the charity. So why do you think this is, and how can this be changed? We spoke on the last podcast about how the secretary is now going to be collecting, hopefully, the contacts for every person in the club, so they can. So we could, if that's happened, say, right, the women have got a new team. They're playing their first ever game. As many people as possible to come and support that would be fantastic if you could. And it could go out to everybody, and then you never know. Even if just one in 100 turned up of say 1,000 people on that mailing list.
That would be fantastic, and is probably,
as long as it was a cross section of the club, not just girls teams.
Yeah, but I don't think that. I think you've got to be realistic. It will take a long time. People's attitude and stuff is changing for the good. It'll change again after the World Cup. I don't think, it's not fair to say it's Fry's things. I think it is a general grassroots and how it's all run. And that's the wonderful thing with football in some ways, is that everybody's entitled to their opinion on how things are, how you play, formations, what the philosophy is, and stuff like that.
But as a club, and because we the last two podcasts I've listened back to, and you mentioned the word community a hell of a lot.
Community is the most important.
And yet, our own football community, as in our club, doesn't seem to engage from one half to the other.
No.
And how can we change that?
Slowly, I think that the email communication will be good. Slowly, it's certainly better than it was 18 months ago.
Yeah,
it is, and it's a slow process. People will be set in their ways.
Do you think the younger teams from the other half engage more?
Not as much as I think they potentially could do.
Because on the walk, it was the younger teams that
did.
It
was.
Which, interestingly, mirrors the fact that we've only had girls' teams for 5 years.
Because it's new, and I think... And
the younger teams, say, who've been around for up to the last 5 years, were more likely the ones who engaged.
And I think potentially when the coaches start for the older teams and everything like that, it is hard work. I think, like I've just said.
So is there a correlation?
You get great as a coach.
So is there a correlation then? And apologies, listeners, we're getting away from ladies football here. Is there a correlation then between those who aren't engaging with the wider community and supporting the club, supporting the women, with those who were here before we started the girls section, the Wildcats?
Yeah, I think
is
so.
Do you think that's the more direct correlation?
Probably, and I said you do get. It is unfortunate. I don't want to put people off doing it. It's hard work.
It is hard work, but we're talking about, in terms of the charity, we were talking about like we said in the last podcast, we were talking about just sending out emails. We're talking about supporting the women's team, just saying. We put it out. It's their first ever game. It was just fancy just coming down and just cheering them on. Yeah. They'd come down if it was another team. Something else going on. It was their team going on. They'd come down.
I mean, as I said, a lot of it is. I think they get to a certain age, and a lot of them, especially the ones coming to the end, they do it for their team. Are they bothered about the club? Probably not.
Yeah.
But then you cannot criticise people. There will be some managers. Older ones from 13s upwards and what have you that have done it for 8-9 years have given up there.
Yeah,
and
I understand that, but at the same time, we're trying to make this thing a community thing. That's why we've got this women's team, so there's a pathway. They've already got a pathway into adult football that exists. It's not within our own section, but there is a local club that they can move straight into, whereas the girls' side haven't. And that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. So, okay. Finally, from me to you and from us, what are the longer term goals then?
The dream, it goes, I'd love Fries to be in the first round of the Women's FA Cup.
That's it.
That's my little.
That's the key performance indicator, is it?
And if and when that ever happens, we will play the game on the Sunday, and I'll be saying bye bye on the Monday. I'd love, but no.
You'd like your daughter playing in that match?
I'd love my daughter playing in that match. The key,
along with my granddaughter.
The key indicator, the key faction for it, in all seriousness, is that, like I've said, the big thing for me, the football is obviously a major part of it. But it is a part. The big part is to have a community, to have a club, to have boys, girls, women, gentlemen. You know, you go out and fight. So if there's a 16, 17-year-old girl, go 17, 18-year-old girl going into the high street for a few drinks, worse for wear, one of the ladies in her 30s, well, hang on a minute, what are you doing out here? Oh, and we'll get them home. We'll look after them.
Because you're part of our club.
Be part of the club, be part of the community. So there's this whole feel that it is important to be part of it, and people look out for each other. That, for me, in all seriousness, apart from the FA Cup first round, is that's the overall aim, is to have a club in. So for me, when Imi's in 20 years time, coming up to 30, when she's 30 years old, could still be playing football, part of this community if she's still living in Keynsham, and it's thriving.
Yeah, and I'll add to your FA Cup KPI, your key performance indicator, and just say, whilst they're playing it, there's people from both boys and girls sections supporting and cheering them on.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And on that note, we'll end this part of the podcast. Right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the creating side covered, but what about the playing side? And what were the motivations behind these women and their manager?
Okay, so we are in Somerdale Pavilion. Fiorentina versus West Ham is on the television in the UEFA Conference League, and I'm here with 4 players and a manager of Fries Women JFC to discuss what it's like being part of a ladies' team. So if I can initially ask you all to introduce yourselves. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm Char.
And also, so where do you play?
I play midfield.
I'm Kat. I think I play defence. I'm Shannon and I'm a midfielder.
I'm Sarah and I play striker.
I'm Kelsey and I'm the coach.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. So a couple of questions basically about women's football and what's it like being in football and that sort of thing. So we'll start off. Can I ask, have any of you played before? And if so, why did you stop?
Yeah, I've played before. I stopped just because casual women's football just isn't very well spoken about. It's not quite there. I was moving away from wanting to be like full time and playing all the time, so just kind of stopped and went back into coaching.
So I played as a child in a boys team. No, I should say mixed probably, but I was the only girl. And at that age, you had to stop at sort of like 11. I think it's a bit older now, but back then it was 11. And there wasn't a local girls team, so I just stopped playing football and watched it instead. And then as soon as it was set up down here and doing the coaching, I was like, I need to start playing because I'm kicking a ball about at a weekend and it's giving me a thing in my stomach. So that was me.
Yeah, I think I was the same, to be honest. I think I reached about 11 or 12. I think there was a lot of pressure on women and girls, and being the only girl, for me, that was what stopped. I genuinely, sorry, there's a lot of noise going on in the background. I'm losing my trail of thought, but
That's okay.
it's alright. There's a few balls rolling. It's all fine.
We're in a club. That's what happens.
No worries.
That's what happens in a club.
No worries. It's all good. So yeah, just a lot of pressure. Yeah, no, I've definitely lost my train of thought now.
I think we were talking about when you were younger and you started playing and then you stopped.
I feel like as soon as you get to a certain age, as a female, as a woman, it's kind of expected.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you do what you're supposed to do. It's not for you to go and have free time and have fun and things like that. It's not a common thing, is it?
No.
I felt like it was always the ladettes, not the girly girls. That it was
Yeah.
always, if you were like, or had brothers, or
Yeah.
you didn't mind rolling around in mud,
Get
you were
dirty,
okay
yeah.
to play football. But if you were in dresses, there was no way you were going to be playing football. But I think that's different now. I think there's like one
Yeah.
of the girls that I coach. She loves nothing more than being in the disco, dancing around. But she's my goalkeeper every week.
That's why she's dancing around, she's jumping around the goal.
So I think it's changing a little bit. It's getting rid of some of the stigma.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I was quite lucky. I played in a girls' team when I was really young. Not around here. I grew up near Peterborough, and I played in a girls' team until I was about 15, and then stopped just because I just did. Life went a different way,
yeah.
and then getting back into it, I found it really difficult. Unless you wanted to go sort of like in a more serious sort of set-up team, you couldn't really get away in, and that's not really what I wanted. I just wanted the casual sort of like training, meeting people, getting involved that way. So this is why this is a really good setup here. We're really lucky, I think, to have it like
stopped.
and so local to most of us as well.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, I think I played at school just like with the boys, not even in the football team, just in the playground at lunchtime. But yeah, once you get to an age, you're not want to be that person that goes and plays with the boys, I think. So, but yeah, I think because all my two girls play in the Fries, and my husband coaches and plays, so yeah, I thought I'd join in as well.
I think being a female, the life changes, doesn't it? You have your kids, like your career. If you're playing football, you have to stop that to have a child, to have a family.
Yeah.
Whereas, no disrespect to men, but they can literally carry on the whole way through. It makes no difference to their life. Their partner could give birth the next day. Whereas for women, your whole body changes. Everything changes.
One mum literally said it at training tonight. Her husband doesn't get asked to take the kids to training with him and stand on the sideline, yet she has to bring the kids, otherwise she can't train.
Or we're expected to find the
Alternative
childcare.
Yeah.
Makes it is.
So why have you decided to join them?
I mean, I was approached and asked if I would take the women's team on and start it because I started the girls section down here. It was really hard to start. We started with like 2 players. It's grown now to almost 200, I believe. So Mark's done a really good job with it since I left, 3-4 years ago. So yeah, it kind of felt natural to start that and then start the women's team just to create that pathway. It just felt natural and like the thing I had to do.
Yeah, I think with me it was like my eldest was one of the girls that first started with Kelsey originally, and then the youngest started. My husband's played football all the way through his life and is coaching now. So I just sort of wanted to be part of it, really. And I think
the action.
Yeah, everybody else is doing it. I want to join in, but it's been great. It's been completely different to what I thought it would be. It's more friendly and inclusive, and yeah, definitely. Really,
I feel like everyone's so like-minded. It was really important to me to create a community, not just a football team. So that even if you couldn't play football or didn't enjoy it that much, you've come and you're with like-minded people. It just gives you that break, like we said, from being a female, having that life, everything's so serious all the time. Just to have an hour and a half on a Wednesday to be you again, I think is so important to so many people.
We have a laugh, don't we?
Yeah, we are.
We are like one big dysfunctional family.
I think it's like I turned up and didn't know anyone. Like I came to the second, I missed the first week, came to the second, and I think I saw it. I was thinking about this. I think I saw it on Facebook. I think Mark, or something like that. That posted, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. But I think as you get older, it gets more scary. Like when you're younger, you just turn up to things, don't you? Or you get like
your parents just shove you into
it.
it.
You get shoved into it, and I was like, oh, should I go? I'm not going to know anyone. Literally, like the second I walked in there. Well, actually, I saw you first. And we sort of knew that we knew each other, and I was like, I'm sure we're going to play somewhere.
Where can I play her? Where do I go from?
Then we found out, and then since then we've just like formed like a real tight knit group, and it's so welcoming. Anyone new that was to come through would get exactly the same treatment as I did, like 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a real mixture of people. Like it's mums, which is great because obviously you've got the kids that are going through, and it's a lot of the mums of girls as well.
Yeah.
So we've seen it with the kids, but then it's such a mixture. So it's a really good, different like each person's.
I think our age range is something like 18 to 64.
Yeah.
She's
64.
64.
It's crazy.
She told me
all the
she was
way
double my
through.
age, if that's
yeah.
what you're referring to.
Yeah.
It's so
So it's
inclusive,
crazy,
isn't it?
but is inclusive. Nobody feels left out. Not that I believe anyway. So.
And everyone's so supportive, no matter the skill level of the other person, no matter what
And you all
happens.
cheer
It's like,
each
oh,
other
well
on.
done, keep going.
Yeah.
Even at that tournament that was really hard the other week.
I
We
mean-
still had smiles on our faces. I don't know how that was
Yeah.
still possible, but we did, and we got through it. And
I think you only get that in like girls and women's football. Now. If that was men's football, then the
They'd have gone home.
F-bombs are flying.
Somebody would have a hissy fit.
Water
Somebody
bottles are
would,
flying.
yeah.
And, but yeah, I think because it's so important to us to have that time, we support each other through it.
So you were talking about enjoying. So what do you find enjoying about training and playing?
My coaching, obviously.
Yes, all of Kelsey's great
Kelsey's
expertise.
fantastic coaching skills. I think every week's different, but we are sort of gelling more as a team, aren't we? So we sort of mix it up. Well, Kelsey, you mix it up a bit, don't you? But we sort of now know what we're doing a bit more, and that obviously brings confidence to everyone, and everyone's a bit more
Yeah, I think
just
it's
freer. I
important.
think.
We're a lot more
Yeah.
vocal tonight.
Yeah,
a lot more like
confident. It's just the confidence
confident to go
coming
for
back.
those tackles and go
Yeah.
for goal, and I think it's just not that standard. Let's go and do Zumba, or let's go and do a
Run
dance
around the
class,
field.
or run. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Because
boring.
things like
This
that
is
can
I
be
have
much
no
more
motivation for anything
No,
like that.
But this is great when it's
Football's a
competition.
passion.
Yeah.
And I love watching it, and so now I thought maybe I like playing it, and actually I do. I love it. I hate fitness.
I
But
think as well, most of
running
us
around the
have
football
got,
field's different. It's a different kind of buzz.
Yeah.
It's a different
Yeah.
kind of feeling.
I think most of us have got that slight competitive side as well. I think you have to.
Absolutely.
Like even people won't admit it. I think they do.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a good level of it. We
I think-
know where we are. Like
Being a
at the
coach
minute.
Yeah.
toned my competitiveness
Yeah,
right
that's
down.
it. We've got people that have played
had
before
to.
playing in the team, so we've
Yeah.
got like such a
Yeah.
good like foundation. I
So
think.
we've got new players, ex-players, players that still play in other teams, like 11 side teams.
Yeah.
I think what was important is that everyone got something from the session, and now we're in a routine. We know who's coming each week. It's really easy to make sure everyone gets something.
But you know what I love about it though is that at the end of each session you're like on the spawn thing.
Yeah.
If you want anything like change it up, then we'll talk about it. There's no like
Yeah.
it's all like we talk about everything and communicate. Communication is key. Write that down there.
Write it down. Write it down.
Trying to
I think it's so important to have that open communication, because the last thing you want is someone to turn up and be like, I absolutely hated that, and then I don't know what to change.
Yeah.
I'm not offended by anything. I mean, nobody's perfect. As a coach, you're always learning. So I think
That
going into
shuttle run
something like
sucked.
this, yeah, no shuttle runs next week.
And because there's so many of us, we've got 40 something signed up.
Yeah.
It's
mad,
important that
isn't
we
it?
try and
Yeah.
you're never gonna please everyone
Yeah.
completely, but it's important to that everyone at least feels like they've got a voice and can speak up.
Yeah, I think even just through Spawn, just putting people. Yeah, you had that
Yeah.
the poll of what people wanted more, and everybody was like, more time, please, and we had an extra half an hour on, so that was great, and we just loved that.
Big up Kelsey for giving us an extra half an hour a week.
As a circuit trainer.
Oh yeah, we've added circuit. So now on Monday, sorry, I'm going on now. On a Monday, we've added a circuit training. Well, Kelsey's added a circuit training group in. So anyone that
My
can
legs
come,
disagree.
yeah, tough. But again, that's another. It's for like the ladies to work on their fitness or just to come and
It's a
like give
choice.
things a go they wouldn't normally do that we don't have time to do in training. So yeah, I
Your
think
mental
that's really
health.
good.
Like
Yeah,
my head.
absolutely.
So
Importantly,
nice.
After I've had such a really bad,
Yeah.
horrible day with my
Yeah.
lovely, delightful devil child, coming down here and running round, and as much as I think at the minute, oh my god, afterwards I feel
You do, yeah,
So
it's
good.
amazing
I think the
afterwards,
older I
yeah.
get, the more I appreciate being able to do that, and
Yeah.
the boost it gets. Like
I go home happy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know when we started, like our warm up is quite long, but I think for adults it needs to be. And so many of our players hadn't exercised for so long, and they're like, "Oh, it's so hard." The warm up was like doing an exercise, but now it becomes second nature, and
Yeah.
you guys know what you're doing, and it just gets easier as you come.
Yeah.
Out of interest, will your lovely, delightful devil child be listening to the podcast?
No.
Oh,
Not now.
Just,
He wouldn't sit still enough to listen to it.
I'll play it in the car.
Good mum, that's me.
is there a social aspect? Or will there be, and what sort of...
We've already had
100%,
one.
We have. We had our Bring a Dish night that Char had a great idea
That
for.
was a great idea.
You want to talk about it, Char? Yeah.
Yes, we did. So we all put a name of the country of
The World Cup.
The Women's World Cup.
That's it, the Women's World Cup. So all the country names in a hat, pulled one out, and then we had to bring a dish of that country here. We had it in the pavilion. That was a couple of Fridays ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we had a good
That
turnout.
when night before the men's presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sausages,
Yeah, we
cake,
had all sorts.
kebab,
Samosas.
samosas. They were obviously a favourite.
No shows.
Shannon's-
Excuse me,
some no
so-
shows for
Lovely.
Shannon. Shannon just forgot, sort of did turn up with her Colombian goods.
What's our Colombian goods?
I should turn up.
Well,
to
hang
make
on a
it.
minute.
It's not close enough to Christmas yet.
Yes,
wow.
that was our first one, but I think
There's plenty
we've
more
got
to
our
come.
we've got our tournament on the 9th of July, or the girls and women's tournament. Isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a tournament in itself, because it's such a long day, that is a social. You've got to be there for each other. Because it's hard, especially when you've not played for so long.
Yeah.
Like Char, you know, from that tournament we played and you, Sarah, like it is a long day being on and off. And I feel like you get each other through it. And that socially is how you create that bond.
And having the families around though, so like the
Yeah.
kids play together, or the partners stand and chat and
But like
probably
Kat
complain how
turned up,
bad it
she
is.
wasn't, Kat wasn't playing, but she turned up to support the team. I think that's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Number one supporter.
Yeah.
Okay, you all mentioned you played as youth. So what's different about women's football?
They don't run around the floor crying.
Yep, we're
my
just saying that,
favourite.
weren't we? Yes.
The respect for the ref, I
feel
think, is higher.
From a coaching point of view, I feel like it's more tactical because, especially the older you get, you don't want to be running around a pitch like a headless chicken. So, I feel like with women's football, they will spend more time getting to learn how to play, move the ball around, and let the ball do the work. And I just feel like with the women's team, you can stand there and talk to them and show them how to do it. Whereas youth football, it's very much get in the session quick, do it before they lose interest or someone goes wandering off, someone's going to forget what it was. So yeah, I think that's a huge difference from my point of view.
I think you're acting as a role model in a way, aren't you?
I think
Everyone's older than me. I don't know if I can.
That doesn't matter though.
No, but like to the kids that are watching up to you, to the people that are coming on the
My
sideline.
kids
Like,
love it, the fact that I'm playing football.
we're bringing some of the
Really
girls
do, yeah.
that we train week in, week out because
Yeah.
they're our kids to watch us, and actually we're setting that example to them. We're keeping our cool. We're respecting the ref. Whereas the men's game, you pick a lot of bad stuff up from. Sorry, I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't say that. It sounds really menaced, doesn't it?
I just think it's a lot more positive.
Yeah.
There's less swearing. It is nicer for kids to come and watch, and like you said, it's so easy to bring them along and watch our
any
games.
like professional women's game.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of kids that go to that, families go to that, so it just feels a more inclusive
So go
environment
into like
anyway.
a Lionesses game,
Yeah.
and they're doing Mexican waves and
Yeah,
cheering,
kids
and there's
loved
no, and yet when I took my daughter to Anfield, I had to explain to her what a murderer was because that's what the fans were shouting at us and stuff. So the levels are too different. It was
Well, yeah,
Liverpool,
it's
Man
trying to
United,
explain to the
but
kids that when they're at Wembley, when they gave them the fizzy juice bottles, they took the lids off them and wouldn't let them have the lids because they get thrown. Trying to explain that to kids when they haven't seen
That's
it.
quite
Yeah.
sad though,
It
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
and
they're
you
like,
don't see anything like that in
Yeah.
the women's ever, no matter where I've been to so many women's games, and there's not been an ounce of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, the men's game, there is a lot. There's a lot.
And I think the women's teams, they appreciate the fans and they will come and speak to everybody. Like, go see Bristol City, they will come down.
They've
and
got the
talk
time
to
for
them.
you, yeah.
Yeah, my two have got signed Scotland tops from Abby Harrison because like she recognised
nice.
Paul's accent, and you know, and it's just
Yeah,
like
so
that was
nice.
just one meeting we had with her.
Yeah.
So I think they appreciate.
Well, just because we went down, so one of our coaches, we go to Bristol City quite a lot,
Yeah.
and because they stay behind and they chat to them.
Yeah.
They're now coming to the girls'
They're coming,
presentation
aren't
on
they?
Friday.
Yeah.
But that's just they
That's
they
huge
agreed
for
to do
them.
that. They
Yeah.
they were like, no, it's no problem at all.
Yeah.
Like the amount of stuff that our girls have signed from them is unreal because they just like, oh, they'll stand there, have the photos
have
with
a
you.
proper chat
And we
with
watched
them.
them win the league, and they actually let our girls try on their medals.
Oh, did
There's-
they?
wow.
That
They
wouldn't
didn't go
happen.
down, it was quite
That would
busy,
not
but
happen
yeah.
in the men's
No, it
game. They wouldn't even
wouldn't.
be walking around with their medals. You might get the odd one that does it in their car as they're driving out the car park, but the
Yeah.
girls were literally there, like showing people the trophy. They were having
Yeah.
photos taken with the trophy.
I think it's huge though because even when I was a kid, you didn't get nothing like that.
No.
Even at the women's games, they just weren't allowed to do things like that. And I think as they're trying to grow the game, they're interacting with fans more, and it's had such a positive impact that everyone's doing it.
It's not quite going the right way though. I'm quite sad that Reading have gone down to a part-time club. I think that's quite.
There's still a huge fight. There's a long way to go, but then you look at like the
Where we've
WSL,
come.
how many fully professional teams there are now compared to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago, there was only like 3 fully professional teams. The rest were competing against professionals, and it was the top 3 winning the league all the time.
And match attendance has gone up
Oh yeah,
significantly.
massively, isn't it, John?
And even just being broadcasted on TV, like there's so much more available now. Even if it is on BBC iPlayer, sometimes it's still being broadcasted, which is more than can be said for 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
It's just like, yeah, it's just, well, it's a different level, isn't it? You can't even compare it.
As long as you pay your TV licence.
Yeah, that's that, yeah. You can't get that enough. There's another conversation to be had there.
Okay. What obstacles, if any, are in your way?
Now,
Yeah, now.
funding. From my point of view, starting this team, I don't think a lot of the players are aware that everything come out of my pocket first. I had to buy all the equipment, I had to buy all the bibs and things like that. Now we're facing having to buy goals because it's summertime and the goals get put away and we don't have access to those. I mean, thankfully we borrow them from kids teams, the girls teams, but we need to have access to our own stuff all the time because at the size that we are now, we regularly get 20 or more to training. We need to have that readily available, and then I have to rely on subs and chase subs to make sure that I get the money back for that, and it's just a vicious circle. If there were grants readily available, I could have turned up to the first session with everything and just been ready. So I think that's a huge obstacle, but from a playing point of view, I don't know.
It doesn't
what
make
you guys-
sense either because there's such an appetite for it.
Yeah.
So if you're only getting sort of 4 or 5 coming to train, you think,
Yeah,
well,
maybe,
but there's
yeah.
40 of us signed up, so
Yeah.
it just doesn't really make sort of sense to me why we don't get the same as other teams.
Yeah.
I think my biggest barrier is life, because I put my kids and everything else before football. Whether
Yeah.
that's like, if work said to me, you need to have a meeting at 8:30 tonight, I'd have to do it.
Yeah,
It would
you
go.
have to, yeah.
Whereas I think, no disrespect to a lot of men, but their football comes before.
They just say, sorry, I'm not available, whereas that's not an option for most women, I don't think.
No, well, look at that tournament last week. We had to forfeit because we didn't have enough because all of us put our kids
4 weeks before
first.
the tournament, we had 19 available. Come a week before the tournament, we had 5. We can't turn up with that.
No.
And it's hard in that sense
Yeah.
that you're expected to put your life first. I know it is a casual team, but it's hard.
But that's your time to be you as well. Like I said, it's an hour and a half on a Wednesday. Out of a whole week, an hour and a half is all you get just to be you. You're not mum, you're not wife, you're not sister, daughter, whatever. You can be yourself again, like be that inner child, and I just think it's so important to have that time. Like, I've seen a change in so many people already opening up and being more confident as well.
So you're going to set me off in a minute.
I mean, do you want to just do
reality,
a
though.
form of therapy?
It is the reality
Yeah,
though,
it
it is.
is, yeah.
It's difficult, so...
I think I finally get like what my husband's been talking about, like team sports is actually the best thing.
It's a
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
It's an
Yeah.
actual
A
thing,
team
like
is a
I
family.
get it,
Yeah.
you know.
I do think we have got a cracking group though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So grateful.
Yeah, we are. We have got a good group.
For those who've played women's football before, what progression have you seen? Facilities, coaching, standards, numbers?
Numbers wise, over the last few years, definitely increased. I think Shannon will agree, playing women's football. Numbers wise, it has increased, and there's more teams coming into the fold. Again, I just don't think the funding's there. Like, people are having to drive their publicity through social media, is not through like their own clubs. Do you know what I mean? So
Well, yeah. So when I after I quit for quite a long time, about say 12 or 13, and then I got back to it when I was about 18, 19, and I wanted to play 11-a-side at that point, but the chances and the availability to join any club at that point was just so difficult. The pathway was not there. And I was quite nervous at that point as well.
yeah,
You know, I just didn't have the
Long time
confidence
out.
to join. Yeah, so I thought, well, where can I go? I actually joined another casual league before this formed. And again, the funding was not there at all either, so it was just a struggle for them to keep going. But then that grew. The interest for that was just insane, and they just got more and more divisions, and now they're doing fantastic. So, which I think is something that obviously Kelsey wants to join as well
yeah.
at some point. And then after that I played for about 2-3 years for that. That was 9-a-side, I think. And then I finally built up the confidence to try for Bristol Rovers. So I play 11-a-side now for about 3 years. But I think that the pressure for 11-a-side in that
I think
league
even to
is
turn
just,
up for those trials at the time, because I know you came and you didn't know anyone.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean-
I knew one person when I went
yeah,
to
I
those
mean,
trials.
Kelsey, obviously you were there.
And
weren't you?
we met literally the first day of the trials and stuck together since, because we were the only ones that didn't know each other. Everybody else went that were friends. They'd
Yeah,
been to uni
exactly.
together. They knew the coaches from uni and things
Yeah.
like that. But I think from then, what is it, 3-4 years since they formed, to now, looking across the divisions, most teams have got a first team and a development
Yeah.
team. So the numbers that are growing is just incredible.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is.
You know it's growing when they're now bringing out women's football boots.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
spoke about it
yeah.
earlier.
Gosh.
Nike have just announced that in July they are in bringing out their most researched football boot, and I guess that's off the back of all the injuries in the
Yeah,
Women's
that's a
Super
big
League.
thing.
The
Of
ACL is a
course,
big
yeah.
thing, but for a big company like Nike to actually put that effort into it and make a big thing about releasing it tells you the game is growing, because they wouldn't bother wasting their money on something they didn't think was going to get a return. So it's obviously grown enough and it's had the research, and I think it's really good. I think it's about time it happened. But I just think that shows sometimes off the pitch how it's growing, that the sponsors, the people around there that are supplying the equipment, because you go into a sports shop and 9 times out of 10 you can't get women's stuff, not even skins in that like that. It's ones that you look like you want to wear like lovely hot pants. Like, I don't want to wear hot pants.
Well, it's not even that. One of the girls was saying at training last week she needed to get some skins like under her shorts, and she had to end up buying men's.
Yeah,
There
so
was
minor
no
men's.
women.
Minor men's
She went
too.
into the Nike shop. There was no women.
Really?
And of course the men's have extra fabric, which is then uncomfortable.
They also have the
She
pouch that makes you look like you've got a package. Trust me, I know, I've got them.
But then that's uncomfortable, and I think things like that, like the more women that are playing
Stash
football,
me
they
phone
need
in
to bring things in that
Yeah.
make it more comfortable.
Well, we
for
were
us.
talking about today about football socks, and we're just trying to work out where we can get football socks. And some are saying, oh, hockey socks are better because they're bigger and they're stretchy. I think, fuck, we have to get hockey socks to play football
Yeah, it doesn't make
because
sense.
we can't fit into the men's.
I just think like match tops as well. They've
Yeah.
got men's and women's. I personally prefer to play in men's because
same.
their idea of a women's body is so unrealistic. It
Sucks it in.
Sucks you in.
Makes you
where
look like
they-
an hourglass. Got
Yeah,
it gone wrong.
But where they think you've got hips, but they're created by men.
Yeah.
And you're also running around in that top or
Yeah,
shorts. So you're not just
exactly.
wearing it and standing still. You're just running around in it.
The men don't want it hugging to them. Why do we?
Yeah.
They just think we want to show off our bodies. Is that stigma?
I don't.
We probably better stop there. We might go a bit far
Let's not
down.
get into that. That's a
These
whole
men
other
might listen to this
story.
podcast and be annoyed. Andy's leaving that bit out. That's not made the cut.
Okay, last one for this group. For you, actually. What are you looking to get out of this season team experience?
Have a laugh and get fit.
I think that's down to you guys.
Yeah.
I can learn from you guys from this. So.
I think it is, yeah, have a laugh, feel involved.
But I also want to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the social side and it's the supportive side. But I think individually, from the conversations I've had, people do want to improve, and they are improving. They can see like small improvements every week, and that's making them like hungrier for more improvement.
I think
and
just tonight, yeah, you could see the improvement. Everybody was more
amazing
aggressive with
tonight.
stuff.
yeah, not even improving, just more confident, like
Yeah.
to go for that like
a lot
pass or to
louder,
go for that
shouting.
tackle, and then that just that sort of like filters onto everyone else as well, and it is infectious.
It's actually really nice to talk to women that like football as well. Do you know how many times I come across women, they're like, oh, you like football, that's so boring. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We went quite long, didn't we?
I knew it'd be you.
Point's gone now. I didn't do it on the news, so, no one can see me right now. But, no, seriously, the amount of people that say, oh, that's boring, I don't even know what you're on about. Who's
My
that?
other half
And I'm
doesn't
like,
even like football, so I don't even.
yeah, no,
talk about it
same.
at home.
My other half doesn't. So to find people that are like, he will watch it because I force him and because
Yeah.
it's on and he's got no choice. And he'll be like,
Only
oh,
women's
yay.
don't mind.
It's given me the confidence to actually go and play football with my kids, like actually have a kickabout. Like
Amazing.
before, I'd be like,
Lovely.
go and know your dad or something. But now it's like, no, I can do this too.
Yeah.
And actually do that.
I feel like
yeah.
they create such a good bond though.
Oh, that's
my
cute.
family do that.
And he's like,
Yeah.
can you come play football with me?
Oh, I
And
love
we're
that.
like learning how to do it ourselves.
Oh.
There you go, emotional moment.
Sorry, slight distraction. Jared Burns peeling for handball. I actually want him to score as well. Anyway, where did we go? Sorry, I'm digressing on the football.
Sarah's just watching football.
Well, actually, I think that's the end of my questions for you ladies. Thank you all very, very much for your time.
Should we stay with you?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew he'd strong arm me into this.
Can we not
You
sit?
are going to say I've only got 3 more questions.
Oh yeah, we'll stay.
Only
Well,
three.
one team.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
You mate,
Yeah.
you've been like controlling the mic the whole time.
Drop mic again and walk off.
Yeah,
it,
mic drop.
it won't be long.
I'm not paying for it.
It won't be long.
It'll take you 6 months to get that back.
So, Kelsey, how have you found the experience so far?
Really positive. I was really worried when Mark approached me and asked me to do this. I thought it was going to go like the girls section again, and I was like, what if we get 2? What if we get 6? I was like, I'm going to have to play our coach, and I really don't want to play at the minute. I just really want to enjoy my coaching. And as soon as we hit 8, I was like, oh, okay, we've got enough. We've got a good thing going. And then 8 become 10, 10 become 20, 20, 30, 40, and it's just still growing now. We get messages constantly on social media, which I love. Like, the more the merrier. If we can split off into 2, even 3 teams, I mean, I'll split myself up, obviously, but yeah, I love it.
What aspirations do you have for the team and yourself?
I just want them to enjoy it. It's a casual team, and it's really important to me to keep it casual. I don't want it to be too stressful. I want it to stay light-hearted. I want people to enjoy football. That is our ethos. I want people to come back to football, join football, enjoy their football. Like I said, be a community. Just don't stop coming. And if there's something they don't like, let me know, because as I said, I'm open to things. I want them to... They pay for these sessions. They have to enjoy it. So that's the most important thing to me.
Finally, how important is it to provide a pathway for the young girls to come into adult football?
Oh, that's huge. Like I said, I started the girls section, so for me, that's the full pathway. I've completed it. Do you know what I mean? Not without help along the way. There's been huge people that have helped along the way and grown the girls section to what it is. But ideally, we want an age group for girls at each stage, if not 2. And that way, when it feeds into the women's pathway, we can keep going. We'll have multiple teams like the men's side do. And at the moment, the way that this is growing at this club, the girls and women's section is going to be bigger than the men's. And I just think it's so positive. The more that we can prove this, the more the people will join, the more people will enjoy football. And like I said, to me, all it matters is people enjoy it. That was the most important thing to me when I was playing. As soon as I stopped enjoying it, I stopped playing. So I think I want to encourage people to come back, keep playing, do it for as long as you can. Like I said, we've got a 64-year-old, so just if you can do it, do it.
So there you have it. Fry's Women JFC are up and running and already have over 40 players ready for whatever league they get into. But more importantly, they are already building a team spirit, support network and friendships which are the bedrock of any team. As Mark said, we would encourage any club to create a women's team, as it will grow the game and can only be beneficial in the long run for everyone involved. My thanks as always to Mark, but also to Kelsey, Sarah, Char, Kat and Shannon, as well as all of the women who have made this podcast and team possible. Don't forget, you can email us your questions, comments, random thoughts, anything you want to share with us at greengrassroots@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at Fry Club JFC, on Facebook, which is Fry Club Junior FC, and the club website, which is www.fryclubjfc.co.uk. You can type out a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you like us, then please give us 5 stars on Spotify. You've been listening to a We Haven't Got a Clue What We're Doing production, produced and edited by Andy Glover.